there's a phrase, do it afraid. I think it's a great phrase. And it's giving yourself the permission to go out and do the thing, even if you are afraid.
Yeah.
Like, yep, both can be true. You can be afraid and you can do the thing.
Yeah.
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think that's a step.
Yeah.
And I think that's not a place we can live, or I can live all the time. I don't want to do things afraid most of the time.
Yeah.
And so I started telling myself, okay, that's great. You know you can do things afraid. What if you do it relaxed?
Yeah.
And then suddenly, and here's where this is really interesting to me, doing things relaxed became a growth zone endeavor. Hey, you found yourself in The Groove, a podcast where we create space for reflection and conversation to unfold. We explore the human experiences that connect us all to deepen our understanding of ourselves, our connection to the world, and the ways we engage with the aliveness within us. We're glad you're here. Here we are again.
Back for episode 2.
We love it.
Where we get to start to dig in.
We're going to start to dig into the structures. So before we do, though, I'm Carly. I'm an artist.
I'm Chris. I'm an educator and a life coach.
And to each other, we are
mom and daughter,
which is very cool. And we are exploring throughout this season the concept of structures that create space for us to grow within, that are spacious in nature, rather than structure that's controlling or restrictive. And we're kind of taking each episode and bringing up either a structure that we've engaged with or have been really thinking about, or that has shifted the way we engage with the world and sharing it. So the first structure that we're going to kind of be engaging with and playing with is something that I have actually known for a long time through you. And it's something that has, at this point, very fortunately, almost become something kind of innate, and a structure within which I find myself moving through often and experiencing the world through often. And that is what we call zones of growth. So I would love to have you kind of tell us a little bit about where you learned this, because you were the one who brought this into my own life, and maybe give us a little bit of a background on it.
Yeah. So the first time I really learned about it was probably somewhere around 2000, so shortly after you were born. And it was part of the adventure education work that I was starting to get involved in.
For those who don't know, what's adventure education?
Oh, so adventure education is a field of engaging with groups of people and having groups of people engage with each other in a series of activities that help them to grow, both as a group and in group process, and also as individuals in terms of their own personal risk-taking.
So it's a lot of group dynamics, problem solving, leadership.
Yeah.
This opportunity to practice and build some of these skills.
Definitely.
That maybe aren't always what we teach in school or in our normal curriculum.
Yeah, I think in an ideal way they would be.
Sure.
If we could wave the magic wand.
One of the things that I often think about too that's a real benefit is the opportunity to practice what we call challenge by choice.
Yeah.
And to feel supported by the group as you figure out how you want to engage with the world.
Yeah.
And that it's something that is autonomous.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where this perfect segue into the 3 zones of growth.
Yeah.
So that's where I learned about it. And Karl Rohnke, who was one of the pioneers, or the pioneer of adventure education, used it in a lot of his books. And I think it came from some earlier psychologists back in the earlier 1900s that were really looking at how stress impacts learning and performance. That a little bit of stress actually is good for learning and performance. But once you get to too high level of stress, it actually backfires, right? So the 3 zones, you have a comfort zone, your growth zone, and your panic zone.
So it's almost like these 3 zones are a structure for exploring how we can engage with stress as almost like a opening object.
Yeah. Yeah, so often we give stress, like stress is bad.
Stress is bad.
And it's not necessarily. It depends on how it's showing up and how it's being used.
the intensity of it, where it's
Yeah.
coming from,
Yeah.
to what end. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So tell us a little bit about what each zone is. I know you named them
Yeah.
off, but let's
Yeah.
go a little bit more in depth.
Yeah. Let's talk about the very first zone, which
Yeah.
is the comfort zone. And that's where you're just completely at ease. A lot of the daily tasks we do are completely in the comfort zone. You're getting up, you take a shower, you brush your teeth,
Autopilot zone.
it's kind of, you're on autopilot. There's nothing that's a challenge to you. It's just the kind of daily normal stuff that you might do. It doesn't add a lot of stress in any way, or even a minimal amount of stress. It's just what you do, and you do it. Yeah. So a very comfortable place to be.
Take us through the growth zone.
Yeah. Growth
What is
zone.
this?
It's where you're starting to expand yourself, and what activities you engage with that really expands your existence and expands how you're living and how you're engaging with the world, so that you can grow, learn, I think, widen your boundaries of who you are and how you operate. And then the panic
Panic
zone.
zone.
It's a place where you're really protecting and trying to preserve yourself.
Yeah.
It's a really high stress place. You're just not in a place to absorb, to stay centered, to be grounded. You're in panic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that really strikes me, or that I think about a lot as we're talking about this, is how we perceive these zones, because I think we can be really quick to judge what zones are good or
Yeah.
bad. These zones are information.
Yeah.
The zones to me are like these frames of reference that we can continuously refer back to as kind of like a checkpoint
Yeah.
of like, what zone am I in right now? What zone do I want to be in right now? And then how can I give myself the space and opportunity to either arrive back in a zone, move into a zone, be in that zone fully present? Like, I think it's important that we kind of frame these zones as something that are points of information for us.
Yeah. And I think they're all important.
Yes.
You can't constantly be in the growth zone. Sounds like it's great, but you need time to rest. Really. And that's where your comfort zone is, where you're really resting and you're not trying to push your boundaries. It's just like working out. You
Right.
work out hard to grow your muscles, but you can't do it every day.
Right.
You have to take time off to recover and to rest. And so I think that rest place is really important. And I think we panic for a reason.
Right. Panic is information.
And it's information, and it doesn't generally feel good for us. I wouldn't want to be there for long periods of time, but it doesn't mean it's a place we should never, ever be. There are situations in life that come up that panic actually is the best response, because it gets you moving more quickly, or freezing, that fight or freeze response. That can be really important given whatever the situation is. What you're talking about makes me think about being aware and having this self-awareness of, where am I?
Yeah.
Am I in my comfort zone? Am I in my panic zone? Just in our own personal growth in life, where are we? And are we spending the amount of time in each of those areas that make the most sense for us? Or do we really want to access something else than what we tend to be accessing a lot? For me, I love to access the growth zone.
How do you know when you're in the growth zone?
Yeah.
Maybe before we keep going, like let's
Yeah.
kind of root down into what that feels like, how we know.
Yeah. For me, I know I'm in the growth zone when I make mistakes. It can't all be perfect. You make these mistakes.
Yeah.
Because if you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing yourself. It's that idea of, you've got to make mistakes in order to learn, I guess. So that's one way I know. I also know because I really get absorbed into whatever I'm doing. Some people refer to it as flow.
Yep.
Like I get absorbed in whatever I'm doing. And when I end whatever that is, there's this sense of pride. Even if it didn't end up exactly like I wanted it to, or it didn't work out exactly as I wanted it to, I feel proud of myself, because I tended to something that I wanted to learn or get better at, and I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, first, before I jump in,
Yeah.
one of the things that I want to point out is the gift that you're giving yourself by fully acknowledging and engaging with this feeling afterwards, like really taking in that pride. And I
Yeah.
think so often we do something and it might be out of our growth zone. And I know I do this. I'm like, okay, that's great. On to the next thing. But it's like, hold on, wait, let me help my brain integrate this experience
Mm,
into it.
mm.
I think it's really helpful to name it to ourselves
Yeah.
and to be like,
I
I
did
just did
that.
that.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to be really excited about this thing that I just
Yeah.
engaged with, and
Yeah.
me being excited about this exuberance of aliveness that I just
Yeah.
experienced is a way to keep inviting it. It's literally like telling your brain and giving it the direction of, I want you to engage with this experience and remember it and make it easier for us to embody. Because our
Mm,
brains want direction,
yeah.
right?
It makes me think about the idea of getting more comfortable being in your growth zone, like
Yes.
stretching yourself and pushing your boundaries and being comfortable with that.
Finding that sense of safety in it,
Yeah.
even in the
Which is
unknown.
really interesting because that sounds like we're talking about the comfort zone, but we're not. We're
Yeah.
talking about being okay in the growth zone
Yeah.
and knowing that it's going to be okay. If you are squarely in your comfort zone for an extended period of time, just stepping out a little bit might feel like enough. And I think it's important for anyone to recognize that. It doesn't have to go, where you're taking this deep dive as far out into the growth zone as you can. You can just step in with one foot and then the other as you get comfortable with the feeling of that, of not being in your comfort zone, but being in your growth zone, that you can start to play around in that space a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. This makes me think about how plastic our brains are.
Mm,
Our brains want to learn,
yeah.
and our brains will learn under a lot of different conditions, unless we're consistently experiencing fight or flight. That's where our brains might have trouble, like literally creating the synapses to happen.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I often think about is our brains learn best under play, like
Yeah.
through play. And our brains will learn under like repetition and exercise or technique building. But it's something like our brains will learn what it takes in 100 repetitions through technique based learning or
Mm,
like exercise based learning, what it'll take 10 reps through play.
mm,
And
hmm.
I just think about how our brains want a groove. Our brains want to create these grooves. Our brains want to find this flow, and it will do it in the conditions we put it under.
Yeah.
And how can we create opportunities for our brains to learn this in a way that feels like it's full of ease?
Yeah. Play is such an important word. I was just thinking as you were talking about play. Often when you hear play, you think of little kids playing, and
Yes.
that's a great thing to think of because
Yes.
what joy that is.
Yes.
But play is also about having flexibility and space to try different things out. And so that could be in conversation, that could be in writing, it could be in drawing, it could be in a sport or a physical activity, but it puts you in your growth zone because it opens up possibilities.
And this kind of comes back to this idea of play. I know I'm in the growth zone when I am letting go entirely of what it's supposed to be and fully engaging with the process in front of
Mm,
me. Like I'm in the growth zone when I am devoting myself to what this thing could become without holding on so tightly to what it should be.
yeah,
And I think this happens with judgment, right? Like
yeah,
this kind of starts to bring us in this trend towards growth zone. We are approaching from this place of openness and abundance.
yeah.
And as we move into the panic zone, I call it like the toll booth of judgment. Like as we are on this highway, flying through the growth zone in a point where we're not grounding down and like letting ourselves be present in the growth zone,
Mm,
we're going to start flying towards this toll booth of judgment
mm,
where I'm moving so quickly that I'm not letting the thing unfold and I'm judging it
mm.
before it has the chance to
Yeah, yeah,
become
yeah,
what
yeah.
it is.
So you have this expectation in the end of what it should be. Like you want to get into your panic zone.
You just start judging
Judge
yourself.
yourself.
Or,
Harshly, of course.
And this, of course, no room for ease.
For positive
You're not
judgment.
looking at yourself like a friend anymore.
Yeah.
Like, friendship with yourself gone through judgment. But it's like this idea of constraining yourself to, you often say it, to shitting on yourself.
Oh yeah. Don't shit on
Don't
yourself.
shit on yourself. I think about the growth zone as where we create spaciousness.
Yeah.
And the panic zone as where constriction starts to happen.
It makes me think of, when people describe having a panic attack, like it feels like everything is closing in on them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what's happening. There's no spaciousness there. It's just you're just so in self-preservation mode that you can't be absorbing all the moment as it is, because you're just in protection mode.
So let's play with something that you just brought up.
Yeah.
And one thing I often think about in a way to get rid of our bad, good, false binary of our experiences that we often place as judgments. What is the purpose of judgment?
Oh my goodness.
Because I don't want to say judgment bad.
No, it's not.
It's information.
Yeah. This brings me to the difference between feedback and judgment. I think judgment is for, you might judge a final product of something. I think what we do is loosely apply judgment all over the place, though. I think judgment is also important in making decisions, when you're out in social settings or whatever, about judging a scenario. And it's like, is this a place I want to stay? Is this a place I really don't want to stay in because it's not serving me? Like, those are judgment things that we do. I think what we, for some reason, tend to naturally do is judge so many areas of our life that actually limit us. When you're in the growth zone, I think you will look for feedback, which is really different. That's information about what can I do differently. To use a great sport analogy, I used to do pitching lessons, and you were one of my pitchers at one point. And where the ball goes is feedback. It's information that you can use to help determine what your body did or didn't do that made the pitch do whatever it did, whether it was a great pitch or it was a pitch that was a ball. And so that's a judgment. Was it a great pitch?
Yeah.
That's the judgment, but that doesn't make me or the pitcher great or not great. It gives you if you use it as feedback and information, I think it's just so much more useful, because then you can make the changes. And that's in the growth mindset. It is about change.
Absolutely.
Because you're growing, and
right.
That means you're changing.
Change is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are two things coming to mind here, and I'll kind of go through them. But in this pitching analogy,
yeah,
if you're working with a pitcher, you don't say throw a strike.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's a judgment of, okay, they've thrown a strike or they've thrown a ball. Those are the two options.
Yeah.
Right? If that's the judgment that's being passed, there is no room to explore. If I want a strike to be thrown, what's the process happening?
Yeah. How do I make that happen? What do I need to do? What do I need to know? What do I need to learn?
Right.
What do I need to get better at?
But if we just tell someone, well, just throw a strike.
Yeah.
You're not throwing strikes.
Yeah.
You're not throwing strikes.
Just hit it in the fairway.
You're like throwing someone into a panic zone off of that judgment.
That's a really good point.
And as a coach, you're not creating space for them to engage with a process that then
Yeah.
supports the outcome
Yeah.
happening, or supports the outcome more likely to happen.
Yeah. If it actually stifles growth or brings you into your panic zone, it's no longer a building block.
Right.
It's just an obstacle.
I'm going to zoom us out a little bit too, to add another kind of layer into all this. One of the things that I think judgment, one of its purposes, I should say, is to keep us safe.
Yeah, totally.
And not even in our sense of physical safety.
Yeah.
But in the sense of safety from feelings that we don't want to engage with, like rejection, embarrassment, shame, failure. Like, judgment will stop us before we even can get to that point.
Yeah, it's a way of keeping us safe.
And small.
In our comfort zone. So what kind of judgments get you in your panic zone?
right now, and this is something I'm actually actively working on, so I'll frame it this way, is showing up unfinished
Mm.
and allowing in
Huh.
eyes on the process before I've had a chance to kind of tighten it up or button it up.
Yeah.
Because often I'm finding myself sharing these very deep thoughts with the world, and one thing I've gone through is like, I don't have it edited enough. It's not going to reach, like, it's not going to fall right. And what if I'm not perceived the way that I want to be perceived? It's got whatever I'm supposed to say next. It's got to be perfect. And one thing that I've been really thinking about is like, no, actually, it just has to be honest.
Mm.
And this actually is making me realize when I am in that space, things move very, very fast. Like when I am in a zone and moving towards panic zone, things feel like they're speeding up. And actually, one thing that I've been actively working on and thinking about is, what does it feel like for this speed up to happen? And how do I make space to slow down?
Mm. I think as adults, we forget that nobody's good at anything in the beginning.
So
And
true.
we have this expectation of ourselves that we need to be good at it in order to do it.
Mm,
And then if we don't think we can be good at it or we're not good at it, then we don't do it, even if it's something that would bring us joy. Where if
mm-hmm.
you look at little kids, it's just not a question, can I do it or can I not do it? They're just playing with
They're
it, to go
playing.
back to that play. And because they play with it, they figure stuff out and they get better at one thing or another thing. I think we used the walking analogy in our first podcast. Like, kids just learn how to walk because they play with it. And they don't go into their panic zone. They want to grow. They want to
Move
do
into
what
that
other
space.
people are doing. They see, oh, walking looks like a useful
That looks
strategy.
way easier than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I got things to do.
And so they don't question whether or not they're good at it yet. They just go and start doing it.
Yeah.
I think we can learn so much from that.
I think, yeah, it's like a relearning,
Yeah.
because I think humans are born with that inherent curiosity
Yeah.
and propulsion into growth zone.
Yep.
It's the stories we collect around the growth zone and experiences of our panic zone, where maybe we started in our growth zone and we had some experience that someone said
Yeah.
something, or we were seen a certain way that then launches us into our panic zone. And it's
Mm,
up to us to help unlink some of those
yeah.
experiences, I think, and remind ourselves that we can be in the growth zone and be safe.
Yeah. I'm also thinking, as you said that, for different people, that link is going to be a different thing.
Absolutely.
So, whatever it was that somebody may have said that you heard, that may have put you in a state of alertness that
Hmm.
brought you to your panic zone. Another person just like, whew, it
Right.
was just a non issue. It just didn't,
Didn't hit.
it did not hit.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because there are things around us that happen that influence where we are in the growth zones.
Hmm.
And ultimately, we have a degree of responsibility to unlinking those things because no one else can do it for us.
Right. And then we bring in judgment as maybe the overstepping part of ourselves that's trying to keep us safe. Because
Yeah.
if we know the link of where it happened, then
Yeah.
our brains are looking for evidence that that might happen again. And
Yeah.
if we judge something preemptively, we can keep ourselves safe.
Yeah.
It's actually
So
very impressive that our brains can do that.
totally. Yes, and very necessary. But it also makes me think, as you are entering down, like speeding down that highway that you were talking about before and getting into your panic zone, you talked about trying to slow things down. Like, how do you recognize it and
Mm.
go, okay, I'm gonna
Pause.
I'm hitting the timeout button right now to just pause things and hit a reset or a
Mm.
refresh.
Mm.
How do you do it?
Okay, so I'm going to bring us out again because I love the meta. Our brains aren't going to do that in the moment where it matters the most if we
Yeah,
haven't been
yeah, yeah.
practicing it.
Mhm.
So for me, a lot of this was as often as I could, literally even to the point where sometimes I would set a timer for every 5 minutes for an hour. Just be like, where am I? Let me check in. Or I would wear like a piece of jewelry. And every time I looked at the piece of jewelry, I would ask myself to do a mental check-in. And I would kind of almost like Pavlovian create this link in my brain of checking in and creating space so that as situations became hotter or faster, this part of my brain was already able to fire. I wasn't asking it to fire in a place that felt stressful.
Yeah.
Because that's not going to happen. We're kind of moving past that. So it was, how can I play with this idea in ways that are not pressure, time, constraint sensitive? I also have like something that I engage with often is yoga. And this is where engaging with different things in your life becomes a vehicle for the bigger lessons, right? And one of the core parts of yoga that I think of often is self-observation without judgment. How can I create spaces for myself to engage with self-observation without judgment? And I think so often we link the two as being the same. And what was important for me was to start teasing them apart. And that kind of goes back to this idea of being the experiencer and being the observer.
Yeah.
And how often can I ask myself to step out of just being the experiencer? Even to the point where I go, I'm sitting here and I'm observing myself sitting here and having this conversation. Or, oh, she's feeling a little sad right now. Or like, oh, she's really excited about this thing. And I can feel joy in what she's excited about. And I'm using a third person to myself, but it's ultimately what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
As soon as we become the observer to ourselves, we create space inherently.
Yeah.
And the observer, not the judge.
Yeah.
Because just to notice creates space.
Right. Notice what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. That immediately slows down for 90% of things for me, what's going on. Where it's like, okay, let me just name this thing and look at it. Let me create a structure for within which it can live, that I can engage with it without letting it be the driver.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you what I think is probably a really bad question.
No.
I was thinking, you talked about how it's always been part of your life, this whole structure, without at times you even knowing it was a structure, because it's just part of how things unfolded. And I was thinking, for me growing up, it was just so not. There was right and there was wrong. It was much more rigid, much more strict way of being. I would be really worried about doing the right thing or doing the wrong thing. And there were times in my life I was so hard on myself if I did what I was perceived to be the wrong thing. Even if it wasn't anything big, but I was so hard on myself. And over time I learned to let go of that through my experiences as a teacher and seeing how my influence affected the kids that I was working with. And I was thinking, like, for you, you said it's always been a part of your life. And so I guess it's not really a bad question. Like, so how, when you look back, how did that show up in your experience? And what is the takeaway for you?
Growing up, the growth zone was always open. Like, it was always an option. And I think that was a very intentional option that was created for us through modeling. Like, I think the conversations that we had, for example, to me, those were such intentional containers of growth zone, where the idea was to not have a destination. And it was just an unfolding of a concept or an idea without deciding if it was right or wrong. So just immediately there was this space being created around a process, and not only space being created, but an active engagement in what the other person was intrigued by and a playfulness within. And so I felt a lot of community and comfort and excitement in a growth zone that I feel really fortunate for having. Like, it became a place of joy. Rather than fear. And I think it was partially just because I was exposed to it so much.
For me too.
Yeah.
As you say that, like I think of experiences raising you and your sister where there was just this creativity that started just pouring out of you because there was the space to play
Yeah.
and not play with a certain, you have to do it this way. Like this is a sandbox and this is what you do in a
And this is how you
sandbox.
play with the sandbox.
Right.
Yeah.
Or this is a slip and slide and this is how you slip and slide. Like I remember a really specific experience where we had this slip and slide in the backyard. It was one of your birthday. It must have been your sister's because it was in August, which is when her birthday is. And we had the slip and slide set up, which was so fun. And, you slid down it and your sister slid down it. And then our friend's daughter slipped down it. And the mom was so determined to get her daughter to slide down the slip and slide the right way.
Because she wanted to run on her knees, right? She was doing like a rock star slide.
She wanted to do a rock star slide on her knees. And her mom kept saying, no, that's not how you do it. And wanting her to, like dive out, belly down. And that's just not what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then there gets this to be this rub of I'm not doing it the right way. Okay, maybe I'm just not going to do it at all. You want to talk about getting back into your growth zone, right? And I know that sounds like such a minuscule example, and in the realm of life it is, but those things happen over and over and over again. And that's exactly what brings us back into our comfort zone. This fear that if I do it this way, it's not going to be the right way. And somebody's going to criticize me for it. And why can't I do it this way? Like there's so many things in life that could be done in so many different ways. There are very few things that have to be done this way. Are there things in life? Yeah, I don't know what they are, but there are things.
But there are.
Yeah. But most things can be done in lots of ways.
And it's almost like a expression of self and how you do things.
Yeah, and you talk about creativity and being creative, and we are.
We are, yes. Even in how you go down a slip and slide.
Even how you go down the darn slip and slide.
That also, I'm going to bring this up, and I think this is something we'll explore in further episodes, but it makes me think of the idea of the good enough threshold. Like there are things that you have to do in life, and it can reach, like the good enough threshold is what you decide is good enough for something. And I often think about this with like making my bed, for example, or someone making their bed. The good enough threshold for me is going to be different than the good enough threshold for you. But it's like the amount of energy that you spend that after this, it's not going to benefit you anymore.
Yeah. And you can't be excellent at everything. Like you have to decide. Oh, except for you. You have to decide what you want to be excellent at in life.
Yes.
Because you can't be excellent at everything. You just can't.
Yeah.
As much as I'd like to be excellent at singing, and I'd like to be excellent at painting, and I have to pick and the rest of them, I need to be okay with good enough or not doing it all if I decide that's what I don't want to do.
Right.
But
and still letting yourself engage with it without being perfect or really good at it.
All right, I'm going to totally switch gears.
Let's do it.
How do you know when you've spent too much time in your comfort zone?
Oh, the phrase that I've been using a lot lately when I'm feeling like that is like, I feel like I'm, like it's a very like body thing for me where I'm like
twitching, fizzing.
I'm fizzing. That's a really good word. The accompanying phrase to fizz, and I'll get into that in a second, is I'm overstimulated and underwhelmed.
Yeah.
Is the phrase I know I've been in like a comfort zone for too long, where there's this energy building within me and nowhere for me to pour it out into, or I haven't given myself the time and space to pour it into something. And now what we have been using to like call this manifestation of energy is fizz.
Yeah.
And it's this bubbly, not really substantive feeling.
Yeah.
That just needs to get let out.
It's sort of a restlessness.
Yes. Overstimulated.
But I love the word fizz because it conjures up like there's this bubbly stuff, but has no substance. It's just foam. It's just fizz.
Yeah. And so I don't often feel like I have a short fuse. I think I have a very long fuse, but sometimes I think if I feel like my fuse is not where it usually is, I'm like, oh, I think I'm understimulated. There's something that needs to be engaged with more deeply for me.
Yeah.
How about you?
One of the things I was thinking, right, for whatever reason right now, I don't sleep as well. That's one way I know. And I think there's just this, oh my gosh, I need to stretch.
Constrained.
I need to stretch out.
Yeah.
And it's numbing.
It's
when
like,
I'm in my comfort zone too long. It's just
yes.
numbing. Like,
Yes.
this is it. This is all there is.
Right.
And
Right.
going into my growth zone it doesn't need to be like I'm, skydiving.
No.
But it needs to be engaging.
Yes.
I think being in the growth zone is about engaging too. Like
Yes.
engaging in conversation, engaging in what's happening around you, engaging in life in one way or another. Being present, I think, is another really good way of being in
Yes.
your growth zone, because then you can really see and experience what's happening that allows you to have this interaction, a really genuine, open interaction, not a controlled, contrived one.
I would even go so far as to say presence is integral to your growth zone. I don't to grow for me.
You have to be present.
You have to be. I have to be present with what I'm doing, and I have to be. That's where it's like that mental acuity of like I'm in it, like I'm fully present with this thing. Yeah.
I think one of the challenges for people today too is how much access to screens we have that can really mask comfort zone because it amuses you in some way, or
you get the dopamine release that you also can get in a growth zone.
Yeah.
But you're not growing.
No.
And then it creates fizz.
Totally. When I was a kid, if you were bored, there was TV, which as a kid, Saturday morning TV was all that you really wanted to watch.
Yeah.
But if you were bored, it was like, okay, so what are we going to build?
Right.
What are we going to do?
Let's go outside.
What are we going to play?
Yeah.
Where now, if you're bored, and I think it's true for adults too.
Totally.
You go on an elevator and you feel a little uncomfortable, a little in your panic zone. And how many people pull out their phone to do something on their phone? I think it's even to avoid panic zone and stay comfortable. So because even being in that space and looking around you and being present can help you be in your growth zone.
One of the things I actually actively practiced for a while, and this was a way of practicing self-observation, is to really work to notice when I went to pull my phone out, when I went to look for a distraction.
Yeah.
And to stay with what I was feeling a little bit longer.
Notice it.
And just notice it.
Yeah.
And also be like, this will not kill me.
Yeah.
This feeling is not a threat.
Yeah.
And that's literally part of the rewiring that I think I had to do in my brain of like, I can actually just be okay standing here.
Yeah.
And
a little uncomfortable, and it's okay.
And it's okay.
Because the growth zone there is discomfort inherent in the growth zone, because you can't grow in your comfort zone. You can't.
And I think so often we rush to absolve discomfort in the name specifically, like I'm going to reach out and be like caring for ourselves. We don't feel discomfort.
Yeah.
And I think that's a disservice to where we can go.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying massive discomfort. I'm saying like it's again in that binary space of like discomfort can actually be a signal to us that we're moving in a cool direction.
Yeah.
Like this whole experience, I've been like, not like gripping, but a little bit like, this is uncomfortable.
When you say this experience, you mean
being in the public eye a little bit more in a way that I have never experienced.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable.
But not in a scary way. It's and not even uncomfortable, because part of me, I actually kind of enjoy it.
Yeah.
But there's a shakiness to the ground that I'm standing on while I'm still trusting the ground that I'm standing on.
Yeah.
That I'm not standing on quicksand. It's just sand.
Yeah. It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay.
Everything's going to be
It's all
okay.
going to be okay. It's fine. So we've been exploring comfort zone, or we've been really exploring the growth zone and the panic zone. And I want to bring us back to the comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah.
Like everything, too much of a good thing is never good.
Yeah.
And we kind of started exploring this, but one of the things that I want to explore is intentionally engaging with the comfort zone rather than using the comfort zone as a crutch or as a default that we're not intentional with.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
I think the comfort zone is the place where rest lives.
Yeah.
And rest to me is also different than dissociation.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
I think dissociation is something that can happen in the comfort zone, but how do we intentionally engage rest rather than dissociation?
Yeah. Like disconnecting with the world, and with being your being.
Yeah. But it makes me think of the idea of moving towards something versus moving away from something.
Oh, that's a really good point.
And
yeah, I think if you're resting to move toward refreshing, it's great.
Right.
If you're resting to avoid putting yourself out there or engaging with something or fearing something, then you're using rest as an avoidance technique.
And then is it rest anymore?
And is it rest anymore? Yeah, I think rest is replenishing. And so you need to replenish. And there are things in life that need to be on. Those things are in our comfort zone. We do on autopilot, like brushing your teeth. You don't even know you've done it. It just gets done.
Yeah.
Because, it doesn't require a lot of mental effort anymore. It doesn't require any of that. And so there are certain routine things we do that are going to be in our comfort zone. I think it's other times where we intentionally decide, I'm gonna rest, and not as a distraction, but as a refresher. Even as I think about some of the things I do that are definitely in my comfort zone, why am I doing them? And are there other more creative things that
I could engage with
that would be more energizing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And give me that feeling of like, yeah.
And then allowing yourself to intentionally decide. Because I think there's also a key point here where, there are things that I could do with all my time.
Yeah.
And you could decide to do that, or you could very intentionally decide not to do that.
Yeah.
And both are okay.
Yeah.
This is not a
right.
Fill your time and take away any extra rest.
No, because then you get back to judging. Judging yourself for what you're doing or not doing or whatever. And it's not about judging. It's giving yourself feedback. Is this the way that feels best for me to spend my time right now?
Most aligned, most supportive, most engaged.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be big things. It could be, but it doesn't have to be.
Right.
I think, again, when we talked about that growth zone, there's a span of it. It's not this one tiny space is your growth zone.
Yeah.
It's big, and you can step just into it
or
really run halfway into it or go way on the outer edge of it. You get to decide. That's sort of the challenge by choice. Where do you want to be?
Right.
And what do you have the energy for and the time for, given what stage of your life you're in and what other responsibilities you have and all that. And so one of the things I love about these structures that we're talking about is that you can find yourself in there and use it at any time in your life and during different seasons of your life. Yeah.
And it might even be a way to okay, let's say you're engaging with something that does bring you a lot of joy. Okay, for me, let me speak candidly. I love ceramics. I love pottery. I can get into my growth zone quickly with pottery. One of the cool things that this allows me is what would bring me halfway into my growth zone?
Yeah.
As I engage with this thing. What would bring me really deep into my growth zone?
Yeah.
And it's kind of for me, it opens up a way to explore new things. It becomes a very open-ended structure.
Yeah.
Where now I'm I can literally create checkpoints for myself of, I want to if I were to really dive into my growth zone, maybe I'll make a teapot and a whole tea set.
Yeah.
And that's a very small example.
Yeah.
But it allows me to start creating an understanding that I can then work within to deepen this thing that I'm engaging with.
Somebody recently asked me, so if you expand your growth zone, do you get rid of your panic zone? Like, does that mean you don't have a panic zone anymore?
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting question. And it makes me think, as you were talking about that, like, no, you'll always have a panic zone. It's important. It's part of our wiring, I think.
Yep.
What I do think you learn the more often you get into your growth zone and you play around with different spaces in the growth zone, is that a lot of what may have at one point put you in the panic zone was nothing to panic about. And
it's like
so
an
now it's in your
ever-expanding
growth zone.
Yeah. And eventually it might even move into your comfort zone.
Eventually, right. You can think of things over life that, you've done enough times that it no longer puts you in your panic zone. It's in your growth zone.
Okay, so here's an interesting one that I was just thinking about this morning, actually. There's a phrase, do it afraid. I think it's a great phrase. And it's giving yourself the permission to go out and do the thing, even if you are afraid.
Yeah.
Like, yep, both can be true. You can be afraid and you can do the thing. I think that's wonderful. I think that's lovely. I think that's a step. And I think that's not a place we can live, or I can live all the time. I don't want to do things afraid most of the time.
Yeah.
And so I started telling myself, okay, that's great. You know you can do things afraid. What if you do it relaxed?
Yeah.
And then suddenly, and here's where this was really interesting to me, doing things relaxed became a growth zone endeavor.
Oh, yeah.
And I think sometimes we think relaxed is comfort zone.
Yeah, no, right.
But it was, how can I engage with things in a way that's relaxed to help my brain learn that what we're doing is likely safe and we have the capacity and ability to navigate these things, to do these things, to engage with these things from a place that feels spacious and open. So it was very meta.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very meta.
That's very meta, yes.
Surprise.
Right? But I love what you're saying too, because the idea of doing it relaxed also softens and speaks of flexibility.
Yeah.
And allowing for movement and shifting.
Yeah.
Where doing it afraid is very, just the sound of it, one kind of lets me melt and the other one makes me stiff.
Tense up a little bit. Yeah. And again, I think it's a great tool to like be like, do it afraid, just do it afraid.
Yeah.
But like,
no, because sometimes you got to just do the thing. But then you do also have to start asking, how can I, like, I'm going to be okay if I do this. Fear is not
what's driving me to make it happen.
And that's not the kind of fear you're talking about. It's not life and death fear. It's fear of judgment. And so what if I just let go of that and did this relaxed and also didn't worry about the judgment? And I know that's easier said than done, but it's a practice. And you have to do it in the littlest of ways.
Yeah. One of the things that I started really doing around my emotions and being the observer is, as I observed what I was experiencing, the next question to myself would be, can I accept that I'm feeling this? Because I think so often we can maybe identify what we're feeling, but we don't necessarily accept what we're feeling.
Yeah.
Even if it's like, I'm feeling sad, I can't accept that I'm feeling sad. And that goes into the, like, how do we actually like feel the feelings?
Yeah.
And like allowing ourselves to accept the fear. To be like, you can sit here. You can sit with me. You can't drive.
Yeah.
I'm going to drive, but I understand and accept that I feel fear around this thing.
Yeah.
And let me invite being relaxed into the car as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have to be alone.
So, what's engaging you right now?
Pickleball.
It's back.
And in and of itself, it's not just the pickleball. It's the challenge of getting better at it. And, there are a lot of fun things that happen too. Like, you meet people and it's moving your body and all that. But I love that challenge of getting better at something.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. Yeah. Doing this podcast too.
100%.
That's another, for me, that's another definitely in my growth zone.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I'm proud of myself for not letting it be in my panic zone.
totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so was there a point where it was ever getting to your panic zone?
So it's funny because I even think panic zone, like there's a range,
Totally.
right? Like there's just on the edge where maybe there's some self-doubt
Mm-hmm.
versus like that full-blown panic where you're running or freezing or fighting or whatever. So yeah, like there were these moments like, oh my gosh, can I do this? Can we do this? Like we can just do this?
Don't we need a grown-up?
Am I? Yeah. Yeah. So I think there were moments of self-doubt, I would say.
Yeah.
And then it's like, do it anyway. Because in the end, so what if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
Like, so what?
Yeah.
But what if it does?
What if it does?
Yeah.
What if it does? This podcast is an opportunity that you and I get to know each other better.
Oh, yeah.
And like, what a way to open myself into something that could continue a conversation within me, within you, within our relationship, within maybe people listening.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden it was this reframe to something greater than me and the fear that I felt. And I think sometimes the more I can re-engage the growth zone as a place of service rather than as a place of consumption, that's something that has softened some of the tightness around exploring something new. And that this is the point. The process is the point.
The process is the point.
Yeah.
That might be one of our structure conversations in the future.
Totally.
Process and what that means. And
I got so many thoughts on that.
All right. Well, we'll get there.
So as we're kind of wrapping up this conversation, one of the things I really want to press on a little bit is that the growth zones are an opportunity for noticing and engaging more than they are for judging ourselves.
Yeah, go figure.
Right?
You don't want to use the growth zones to get you into the panic zone.
Right. And I think so often we can be like, am I in the growth zone? Am I in the growth zone? Am I doing this thing? Am I succeeding in the way? And the growth zone is really, it's an invitation more than a binary.
I talked about awareness too. I think to just be aware of where you are, because awareness is the first step to shifting something if you decide to. And so an awareness of where am I spending my time? And is this what's working for me?
Self-observation without judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this where I want to be? Or do I want to engage in a different way?
Yeah.
So it's I like the word invitation. It's an invitation to think about it.
Do you have any ways that you want to engage with your growth zone in the coming weeks?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the ways is with this podcast and continuing to think about reflecting on these first ones and how they went and what kind of shifts I might make and what kind of feedback I can get. And then getting better at pickleball because you got to get better at pickleball. Perpetually.
I like it.
And you?
Do you know what? I actually really want to start taking or going to like social dances. Like to start learning like salsa dancing or start learning swing dancing as just like, I've never learned
like the steps. Steps
of a dance. And I think it would be so fun to learn basic salsa. And I don't need to be great at this, but to learn enough steps that then if I'm traveling or going somewhere, it's a way to engage with the place I'm in.
And connect.
And
that's cool.
Just go dance. And that's, I think, a way that I'm going to engage with my growth zone.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Join us next time as we explore how we build habits from a place of curiosity. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts or watch us on YouTube at The Gnarliest Carly. We would love to hear from you in the comments about what's been getting you into your growth zone. If you enjoy reading blogs and our innermost thoughts, check out the Substack at substack.com/@thegnarliestcarly. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram, surprise, surprise, @thegnarliestcarly. Until next time, take it easy. This podcast is produced by Carly Warner-Hyde and Christine Warner. Directing, editing, and filming by Erica Paparella. Support, show notes, and loving energy by Kristen Pepin.